Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the one and only Brother James.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. Moving through the universe, contagious is our energy. The decades of the things we've learned, embracing who it is we be. Agree to fight a war for peace and make friends with our enemies. I'm living in a mystery where they could write a eulogy. Chalk it up to bravery, start living in a fantasy. We got a place to be created by the galaxy. This ain't no fallacy, it's simply a reality. A universal policy to rid us of the scarcity. The choice is mine, the choice is yours. Open up, break down the doors. The voice inside might be telling lies. Had enough, now I decide. Oh, whoa, whoa, I'm not my mind. Oh, whoa, now we decide. Now we decide. Come on, yo, turn off the TV. No more negativity, it's time to tune in onto a new frequency. Say goodbye to news that be giving us the blues. Turn that dial to the one that we can use. Helping you and me to feel amazing. Put away the fear and now your pain will start fading out of our lives. Room for the good vibes. Take a little time to let the silence realign our minds, our souls. Close your eyes and say goodbye to the old. Today is just a new day, another day to play. Step into the realm, you know it's time to create. The choice is mine, the choice is yours. We'll open up, break down the doors. The voice inside might be telling lies. Had enough, now I decide. Oh, whoa, I'm not my mind. Oh, now we decide. Whoa, I'm not my mind. Whoa, well, the music is what we love, helping you and me to rise above a fear that we be facing in a world that is racing. And the music is our keys to the cuffs. Listen to the music, your melody is soothing, and the beat within you's grooving. When you're feeling your goodbyes, nothing to be losing. Come on, harness it and use it. Contribute to the movement of love in this life. Oh, your life. Yeah. Your life. You are not your mind. Oh, I'm not my mind. Oh, now we decide.
Oh my goodness, it is so great. It's just fantastic to have you back, Brother James.
Thank you.
Here he is getting situated into the chair now. We just have you come right in here. Yeah, it's time to talk, bro.
I'm going to stand.
You're going to stand?
Yeah.
Now you make me feel really lazy.
Well, I drove here. It was like, I feel like standing.
Should I stand?
If
I'm
you
not
want
standing.
to stand. Are you sure you don't want to stand?
I promise you I don't want to stand. Nobody wants to see that. Let's get right into it. It's been a while since we've had you on the show. How are you?
I'm amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm amazing. Life is good, full of opportunities, super fulfilling. It's an adventure. And it has, of course, not everything is always amazing, but there's a lot of ups and downs. And with those ups is, great times. And with the downs is opportunities to reflect and learn.
So let's talk, because you have a lot of stuff going on musically, but you're doing some things so differently right now. I think people sort of get used to the idea that someone with talent comes out and they display that talent through song or through, voice and dance and all these other artistic sort of endeavors. And you go, oh, they're going to get out there. They're going to start touring. They're going to put out an album. They're going to try to make it in that traditional way. But nothing about you is traditional.
No.
You have really done some things that I find inspiring and fascinating all at once. You've kind of put the way that creative people work on its head, if you will. You're doing things with corporations. Yep. You're working with schools. Yep. And it's all in a very creative way. How did that come about?
That came about through being a Cutco guy, and being in marketing back in the day. And for many years, 10 or 15 years, and just learning the
the skill or the tool of growing oneself personally. So just having that natural desire and hunger for personal growth has also led me into a place where I could see how music could fit inside of helping people to have some sort of a personal growth. So in schools, I go into a school and help kids to appreciate who they are, appreciate where they might want to go, get an image for the future where they're actually really feeling like, wow, that future could be really awesome. I remember when I was a kid, I would get out of school. When I was a senior, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but it wasn't because I was unable to know what I wanted to do. It was just because I had never really I never really thought about it. It never was really that exciting for me to think about what I wanted to do. I would just like go day to day, live the day to day. So growing personally through Cutco led me to see a lot of different environments where people were coming to an event and they would be growing personally in that event. And so I could see how music would fit inside the event, because when you study music, music lifts people up. It lifts up their energy. It makes them feel connected. So I started to just think about what would it be like if I didn't go and play all clubs and venues.
Yeah, right.
What would it look like if I went into a personal growth environment, and then one of my buddies ran a personal growth event, and I was like, could I come play music there? That was the very beginning of it, because I went into that environment, and instead of being in a club or a venue and trying to gain people's attention, there were 400 people staring at the stage, clapping as loud as they could, loving that music was in the environment. I was like, oh, it would take me a lot longer to go to build a traditional music career, to get this many people in one room, all knowing who I am and having a great time and wanting to buy my music.
And they've already elected to be there for whatever reason. If you're in a school, maybe all the kids are not electing to be there, but they kind of have to be there. Let me ask you about the business aspect of this.
Sure.
You're going into corporations. Are you doing this in the world of like there's a corporate training going on, or maybe it's a team building event and you're inserting your music into that event?
Yeah, it's a couple different things. One would be the team building, where a company, a corporation, is just looking to strengthen its connection of the employees or the individuals that are inside of the entity that is the business. And we could take Yen Yoga, for example. Yen Yoga is a company that I work with to do a Yen Yoga and Fitness Summit, which will be this October. Last year it was in December. And it's really about bringing the community together and helping them to get to know each other in a more real, deep, giving them the time to connect with each other versus the day-to-day passing. And then also, so it's strengthening the community or strengthening the culture. And then also another thing we might do with a corporation is to help them to appreciate when they've been at their best. So appreciate when they've been at their best, and then to collectively start thinking of the future together. Whereas with many companies, what happens is the top of the company, leadership or a handful of people will get a vision, and then they'll push it down through the rest of the people, hoping or expecting that everyone will jump on board because it's coming from the leadership.
Right. So, hey, this is my vision, now it's your vision.
Right. Whereas one of the things we do, we bring in music, some mindfulness, creativity, and then allow the whole system to have a voice in the prospective future. Doesn't mean that the company is committing to doing everything that everyone says. It just means that everyone's voice is being heard and brought into the conversation, as maybe then a smaller steering committee or smaller group makes the decisions. But then everyone feels heard, and when they see what they presented being considered in the outcome that someone comes up with, they're like, oh, I'm in.
How much of you would you describe as musician, and how much of you is motivational speaker?
It's probably a 50-50 type of thing.
Because that's one thing that when I know I'm having kind of a rotten day, I will put in one of your CDs and I will play it because I know that it's going to make me feel better. It's going to inspire me to go, all right, things are not so bad. Everything's going to get better. Look for, the silver lining, if you will. And that's something that is so motivational. So were you that motivational speaker type person first, or were you the musician named Jeremy Reisig, Brother James first?
Yeah, well, I was the musician first when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And was a musician through high school. And then in college, my second year in college is when I was recruited into Cutco.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got into Cutco, it all switched because I was completely smitten with the allure of making lots of money.
Yeah, right.
So I was totally in on how to make lots of money, sell lots of knives, be the best. And within that came giving motivational speeches and being a leader in that company, to where I would be on stages giving talks on how another rep who was coming
Right.
into the company or had been around could have that type of success. So it went like music as a kid, and then I went entrepreneur and that motivational component. And then as I started to have success and then started to think about what success really meant, I started to recognize that money was not the thing that was going to bring me the most fulfillment in my life. And so I started to explore what it would look like to do the things that I loved the most. And when I journaled, I'm a pretty big journaler, whether it's a 5-minute journal or journaling, like journaling freestyle. And what I've kept on seeing throughout my life is that I can see inside of my journal the things that I'm naturally drawn to. And there was always this component of, when I get to a certain point financially, I'll start giving more energy to music. And I was like, oh, what if I just made everything about music now? And I made everything about music, and then eventually they started to, because when you find something new, you also start to leave something else behind. You think you got to cut it off. But then what happened is they started to merge together. Now that we're like 3.5, 4 years into this Brotha James thing, they've started to merge together in this kind of marriage, if you will, where the motivational and the music kind of come together.
When you are writing these songs, and we just heard this fantastic song, and I know you have a new tour out, the Abracadabra tour. That's hard to say. When you start writing these songs, though, and I know that you're not the kind of guy that it has a wonderful day every day. I mean, everybody has bad days.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you, it can be really easy, especially with the artistic personality, to kind of get sucked into the negativity. People relate to negativity.
Yeah.
If you're having a rotten day, if you've had a breakup, if you've lost someone, if you're experiencing doubt in some area, it's so easy to write something down. Someone else says, yeah, man, I connect to that. But you don't do that. You write things down that are like, yeah, we're here, but here's where we want to be and how do we get there?
Yeah.
How has that been for you as a human being to know in the back of your mind, everything that I'm doing has to somehow find a silver lining?
How does...
How do you do
That's
that?
a great question. That's a great question. Well, it's number one is it's I think it's it's a great question. The first thing I would say is it's always great to remember that most likely if you're listening to this show, you're in like the top 0.005% of the world. Like we're very, very fortunate to be where we are and to have the lives that we are in comparison to a lot of people who don't have any control over their circumstances. And also to remember that some of our decisions as Americans and as consumers of the world are putting people in kind of interesting positions. And to remember that, wow, we get the opportunity to choose everything that we want, essentially, as Americans. We get to choose everything, what we want to wear, who we want to be with, what we want to drink, everything. So that within itself is like, whenever I'm having a bad day, I'm like, life is pretty amazing. Like I can, especially living in Northern Michigan. So that's the perspective is one. The quality, I've lived by this kind of phrase or quote, I don't know if it's a quote, the quality of our lives will be directly connected and a reflection of the quality of questions our quality of our lives will be directly related to the quality of questions we consistently ask ourselves. So that last song, Not My Mind, is about the voices in our head and how the voices in our head are really just, they're essentially being driven by little questions that we're subtly asking ourselves all the time. Like, what do I like about this? What don't I like about this? Like, subtly there's a question. And even if we don't know where all the questions are coming from, we're able to position a question. Like, let's say all of a sudden you start to feel a little bit like depressed or unmotivated or sad or like you're not enough or you're doubtful. You could just really quickly ask the question like, well, what am I grateful for right now? Yeah. As soon as you ask that question, then the brain starts to look for things that it's grateful for. Another question that you might ask is, when have I been at my best? What's a moment in time I'm like really proud of myself? And you can go back and look at that and go, oh, okay. And as soon as you look at that moment, you get lifted up for a second because you see yourself as being proud of yourself and being at your best. Then if you ask a question, and these are all done silently. It's
Yeah,
like
right.
in your head silently. Like the other day I was on my way up north, and I'm driving and I'm feeling this kind of like state of uncertainty and doubt. And I asked myself this question. I'm like, well, wait, when have I been my best in this area?
Yeah.
And then a whole bunch of pictures came. So a whole bunch of images, almost as if I was rewinding the movie of my life and pulling out the certain scenes based on my search optimization, which was just the quality of my question. And I was able to pull out memories that made me appreciate. And then I could just ask, how might I bring more of that into my life right now? And so that's like
It's a switch
That's like a
almost.
ninja trick right there. Like it takes first recognizing that you're feeling a certain way.
It's
so an
a
awareness.
total ninja thing, though.
It's a ninja thing.
Yeah, it really is. And you're doing it kind of quietly, but it also takes a lot of training to get yourself there.
Yes. And the training generally comes on paper. So you have to, like anything we do, we train ourselves. So a journal question might be, well, you've got the book that I think I gave you guys a book at,
Yeah.
right? In the book. So along with this last CD, Abracadabra, With These Words I Create, was a book. With our words we create stories behind the songs.
Yeah.
And at the end of every chapter is a series of 1, 2, or 3 questions that are the actual questions that a person could use.
Oh, very
And
cool.
I put them in there so that a person could have their own inquiry. Like, let's take a song like Slow Down. Slow Down, which is a song about slowing down, appreciating the moments in life. Slowing down also to get a vision of where you want your future to be versus just letting your life kind of take you to some sort of a future. So you can slow down in many ways.
Right.
Give yourself love, get a vision. At the end of Slow Down, it's like, think of a time in your life where you felt a deep, I can't remember the exact question, but think of a time in your life when you felt a deep appreciation for yourself, when you slowed down and reflected or felt something great about, life when you slowed down. It's basically an inquiry to get a person to think back to a time when they slowed down.
Yeah.
That they can go, oh, I have slowed down before.
And I can do it again.
I can do it again.
Yeah.
Right?
And there's the building block there. If people, I know we're running out of time here, Jeremy, and I'd love for you to play another song, but if people want to get in touch with you, whether you own a business, you're involved in a school system, maybe you have an event that you're working on that you want to bring this kind of it's not even just the music. It's almost like this. It's a mission.
Yeah, it's a mission.
To the table. How can they get in touch with you?
brothajames.com.
Easy.
BROTHA James.com. And the site is pretty good right now. We're about to update the corporate side because the corporate side has gotten much more innovative and much more strategic in the last 4 months. And so we've seen some really amazing things, but there's still, all the pages are up. There's inquiry forms. You can buy music. You can get everything. brothajames.com.
There's so much. And if you go to Brother James, even on Facebook, you can find, oh my gosh, Jeremy, I'm looking at like 10,000 people are being inspired by this. You have so many people who like you, who follow you. If you want to add that as one of your daily things that you just look into, you always have something going on online as well,
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Well, let's see if we can get a song in here because
Yes,
I can't
let's
let
do it.
you walk away. What are we gonna
Thanks for the
play?
great questions.
Oh, thank
I
you.
really appreciate those questions. I'm going to play a song called Abracadabra.
Yeah.
And I usually play it on ukulele, so it's a little different on the guitar. Can I take the headphones off?
Yeah, please do.
I'm feeling good inside. I really love my life. I'm putting out these good vibes every single day. I'm like a shining ray. I love to celebrate. Even on a rainy day, I wear sunshine up on my face. Hello, my friend from another. Let go, search for the good. I know that we've got each other. It's so remarkably true whenever, I feel low. I look inside and grow. My words, they help me know just who I am. With these words I create, abracadabra left, are you ready to play? La 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 la, let's make today a great day with the words that we say. Yeah, yeah. am a musician. I make my music fun. I blast it on my run, and when I need good energy, I give it everything. It's in these words I sing. I fill them up with love. I paint these words. I'm gonna set them free. Hello, my friend from another. Let go. Search for the good. But I know that we've got each other. And it's so remarkably true whenever, well, I feel low. I look inside and grow. My words, they help me know just who I am. Clap with me. 1, 2, 3. With these words I create, abracadabra, laugh. Are you ready to play? La 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 la. Let's make today a great day with the words that we say. Words like abracadabra, words like words like abracadabra, words like words like abracadabra. Thank you for having me on a Crystal Frost show. La la la, have a great day if you're driving in your car. Have a great day wherever you are listening from.
Yes, Brother James, ladies and gentlemen. Time for a quick break, then we come back for the good news story of the day. And I gotta say, we just shared a lot of good news there. Brother James, thank you so much. We'll take a quick break. WTCM.